Tangled in Tuscany. Chapter 3. Missteps and Impressions. Sophia didn't expect her first full week in Tuscany to end with a makeshift dinner party, a broken pipe, and mud on her jeans. But that was exactly where life had taken her. "Don't step there!" Chiara shouted from the lower terrace. Too late. Sophia sank ankle-deep into the sticky, waterlogged patch that had turned the northern slope of the vineyard into a mess of sloshing soil and runaway roots. She groaned, yanked her foot free with a squelch, and lost her boot in the process. Luca stood a few meters away, arms folded, clearly trying not to laugh. "You could help," she said, reaching back to dig her boot from the earth. "I could," he replied, "but watching is more entertaining." Sophia narrowed her eyes. "You know, in some cultures, that kind of sarcasm is considered poor hospitality. In mine," he said dryly, "it's called restraint. You should be grateful," she grunted, finally pulling her boot free and stumbling to her feet. "I should have taken the espresso and stayed in the guest house today," he smirked, "and missed the full Tuscany experience. I was promised wine and sunsets, not mud wrestling with grapevines." They had spent the better part of the afternoon inspecting water damage to one of the vineyard's lower rows. A burst irrigation pipe had flooded a narrow section near the stone wall, and it would take days to dry out. The workers had cleared out, but Luca insisted on doing the assessment himself. Naturally, he drafted Sophia along for the ride. "You're supposed to be photographing," he said now, taking a step toward her. "Not drowning." "I was photographing, and then I was conscripted." He offered his hand to steady her as she climbed the uneven slope, boots caked in brown clay. She hesitated, then took it. His grip was warm, firm, steady. It startled her more than it should have. "Thanks," she murmured, brushing off her jeans. He didn't let go right away. Their eyes met, and for a breath, the world went strangely quiet. Not the kind of silence that hangs in the air. The kind that slides between two people, like a drawn-in breath they're afraid to release. But just as quickly as it arrived, Luca stepped back, releasing her hand. "There's a hose by the barn," he said. "You can rinse off before dinner." And with that, he walked away, leaving Sophia with mud on her leg and a flutter in her chest she didn't have time to examine. Later, clean and slightly damp, Sophia found herself seated at a long outdoor table behind the main house, surrounded by mismatched chairs, flickering candles, and the scent of roasted vegetables drifting from the kitchen window. Alessia had insisted on something casual and full of garlic to celebrate the end of the first week's harvest prep. And even though it wasn't formal, Sophia had changed into a soft wrap dress the color of a late summer plum, her hair loose, curls slightly unruly from the vineyard wind. Luca arrived last, hair still damp from a shower, sleeves rolled up to his elbows. He took a seat directly across from her with a nod. Alessia raised a glass of white wine. To the land, the grapes, and the people who bring them to life, whether with shears or with lenses. Everyone toasted. Glasses clinked. Bread was passed. Conversation flowed. Sophia felt something warm settle beneath her ribs. Maybe it was the wine, or maybe it was the table, filled with people who moved like a family even when they disagreed. Matteo was there too, animated and chatty as ever, seated beside Alessia, and telling a dramatic story about an international wine award and a rival vintner who'd allegedly bribed a judge with truffles. "So what about you, Sophia?" Matteo asked, leaning toward her with a grin. "What tragedy chased you across the Atlantic?" Sophia froze for half a beat, then smiled coolly. "Nothing so dramatic. Just needed a change. Everyone needs a change," Alessia said knowingly, especially after heartbreak. Sophia's fork paused midair. Luca glanced up from his plate. She offered a tight smile. "I wouldn't call it heartbreak. More like a course correction, like missing the exit and realizing the next town is nicer anyway." Chiara let out a sharp laugh. "I like her." Luca's eyes stayed on her for a moment longer than necessary. Sophia turned her focus back to her wine. As the meal wore on, laughter grew louder, candles flickered lower, and someone started a half-hearted sing-along to an old folk song. Matteo chimed in with lyrics he half knew, while Chiara drummed the table in time. Sophia excused herself briefly to grab her camera. She wanted to capture this. Real faces, real light, unguarded joy. When she returned, Luca was standing by the low garden wall, glass in hand, eyes on the rolling hills washed in moonlight. "You don't sing?" she asked, stepping beside him. He shook his head. "I prefer quiet." "You and quiet are best friends, aren't you?" "I make exceptions." She lifted her camera, snapped a photo before he could object. Luca turned toward her. "You always take what you want. Only the things worth remembering." He didn't reply. But the way his eyes held hers felt like an answer. For a moment, she wanted to reach out, to ask what he was thinking, to find out if that earlier spark was just hers alone. But she didn't. Instead, she tucked her camera back into the bag, cleared her throat, and turned back toward the house. "You should come in, before Matteo starts dancing. That's supposed to lure me inside. Think of it as a dare." Luca hesitated, then followed. The night ended quietly. No dancing, no declarations. But when Sophia passed Luca in the hallway on her way back to the guest house, he paused beside her. His voice was low, the words unexpected. "You looked like you belonged tonight." She looked up, heart suddenly louder than it had been all evening. "Maybe I did." He nodded once, as if that answer mattered. And then, as always, he walked away. Sophia stood in the hallway a moment longer, her fingers still curled loosely around the strap of her camera bag. The way Luca had looked at her, that quiet nod of recognition, the softness laced with something deeper, had stirred something she wasn't ready to name. Not yet. She made her way back to the guest house in the hush of midnight, guided by the soft rustle of olive trees in the breeze, and the faint hum of laughter, still lingering on the night air. Fireflies blinked along the gravel path, and in the distance, the low sound of Matteo singing off-key echoed faintly. For the first time since arriving, she didn't feel like an intruder here. She felt tethered, lightly, but undeniably. The next morning, Sophia was still editing photos from the dinner when Alessia appeared at her window with 2 espresso cups and a warm smile. "You take your coffee strong, yes? I take it like medicine," Sophia said, laughing. "Necessary. Bitter. Immediate." Alessia passed her a cup and peered over her shoulder. "Oh, you caught my terrible side profile." "You don't have a terrible side." "Tell that to my left cheek." Sophia turned the laptop toward her. "I'll let you decide." Alessia studied the photo, herself mid-laugh, cheeks glowing, eyes crinkled with something unfiltered and human. After a moment, she nodded slowly. "That's me." Sophia smiled. "That's the goal. Luca said you were good. He's not generous with praise." Sophia blinked. "He did." Alessia took a slow sip of espresso. "He acts like he's all stone and rules, but he sees everything. And when he cares too much." Sophia let that sink in. "I thought he didn't care for any of this. Marketing, photos, new blood. He doesn't. But he also doesn't like losing. And this vineyard, it's losing ground. If you're the answer, even partly, he'll fight his instincts to make space. That sounds exhausting. For him, always. For you, that depends." Alessia gave her a meaningful look. "How long are you staying?" "Just until the harvest campaign is finished." She murmured, like she didn't quite believe that. Time has a funny way of stretching when the soil agrees with your feet. By late afternoon, Sophia was back in the fields photographing the workers and experimenting with slow-motion shots of grape clusters swaying under the breeze. She adjusted her position along the stone terrace wall, climbing slightly for a better angle. Just enough to feel confident, not cautious. But a loose rock shifted beneath her heel, and before she could catch herself, her ankle twisted sharply and gave out. The camera hit the dirt with a muted thud. She didn't cry out, but the pain surged through her like a flash of heat. "Stai attenta," Chiara shouted, rushing over. "Sei caduta." "I'm okay," Sophia said quickly, gritting her teeth. "I just need A second later, Luca appeared, seemingly out of nowhere, and dropped to one knee beside her. What happened? I slipped. It's fine. Just twisted. Let me see. He brushed away Chiara's hands gently, and checked her ankle with a careful touch, his fingers cool and deliberate. Sophia tried not to wince. I'm really okay. You're not. I've done worse in Central Park. Once I tripped over a jogger's husky and landed face first into a pretzel cart. His eyes flicked up. That's oddly specific. Also oddly true. A twitch of a smile ghosted across his lips. Come on, he said. You're not walking on this. Before she could object, he lifted her effortlessly into his arms. Sophia yelped, instinctively clutching his shoulders. Put me down. No. You can't just carry me. Apparently, I can. She glared at him. This is undignified. Then stop wriggling. You'll make it worse. His grip was steady, his jaw tight with focus as he carried her toward the guest house. Workers watched with varying degrees of amusement and concern. Sophia could feel the heat rising in her cheeks. He carried her inside and gently set her on the bed, propping her leg up with a pillow. I'll get ice, he said, already turning. She watched him go, still stunned by the unexpected intimacy of it all. His arms had felt solid, his scent all citrus and cedar, his presence comforting. Not that she'd admit that, not even to herself. 15 minutes later, Luca returned with a cold compress and a roll of bandage. He didn't say much, just knelt beside her, wrapped her ankle with the ease of someone who'd done it before, and adjusted the pillow beneath her leg. You should rest, he said. Finally. She studied him, brow furrowed. You're not who I thought. He looked up at her. What did you think? That you were just a walking scowl with a strong jawline and a superiority complex. His mouth quirked. And now? You still scowl. And your jawline's still unfair. But, her voice softened. You didn't have to carry me, or take care of me. You're here, he said simply. I'm responsible for that. That sounds like duty. It's not. Sophia swallowed. Then what is it? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he stood, his voice a fraction lower. Get some sleep. I'll check on you later. She watched him leave. No door slam, no sarcastic remark. Just the soft click of a man keeping something quiet, and a woman trying very hard not to fall into it.